live. Give me 1 second here, guys. I want to see. Nope. Let's see. Let me try something. Fucking with some buttons. Give me a minute. This might get fucked up. Let's see. Top. Alright. There we go. Alright, what's up, what's up, what's up? What's up, everyone? I am the High Priestess Phoenix. I am your spiritual healer, teacher, shaman, seer, oracle, lightworker, starseed, earth angel, mystic, medium, psychic, witch, yogi, guru, evangelist, North American Sybil. I am your one and only messenger of God, the first child of God, the Lilith reincarnated. Today is a Saturn day. Push it to the limits. We have an unbelievable amount of new people. I just want to thank you for joining us. I hope you can stick it out with us. I know what brought you. Your belief in aliens brought you. So I'm going to start with you guys. I'm going to start this. I do not do this often. It took me a lot to channel them on an off day like this. In essence, I suppose they knew you were coming. So, whatever. For everybody else, we're going to go back in time a little bit. We're going to do a little quick study, a recap of the Pleiadians for the newcomers that came on that behalf. And then we're going to jump into some Carl Jung psychology, and Metatron wants us to start, I don't know how it's even pronounced. It's in my Black Arts book. Anyways, let's just get on with the bullshit. In order to keep up with me, you would have to catch what I post on my community page. My live videos prior to this one, and anything in my shorts. Well, let's get this party started. So, I had mentioned all of you that are new, you came based on that short about whoever he is, his interaction with aliens, or what we call them here, the other beings. I had mentioned I had a similar one. I'm not really going to tell that story. You can hear. I'm not going to tell it over and over. I am nothing more than a messenger of God and all the beings of the universe. These are just some of the beings that I tapped into when I started ascending towards the light. I shared in my community page this beautiful map right here, but I had always said it's a reverse. It's seriously, it looks like, that's what I try to tell everyone, it looks like an hourglass. You descend to ascend. The further you go into your darkness, the more you are in the light. So I currently am up here in the Bana with, that's considered the throne, so I'm with, all the ascending masters, and that would be Saturn. Trying to make my way over here. That's considered home for me, for sure. What is that? Just a state of being, a state of consciousness. Where I am right now is overstimulation. I need to sit, it's this place of, it requires silence, and it's just a whole lot of shapes and sigils and shit like that. So that's the kind of transmissions I'm getting right now. They're not conversations, they're not astral projections into time. It's beyond time and space. It's where shapes take form and become anything, to be honest. In the beginning, shapes were a language, back to hieroglyphics and shit like that. And then there's sigils and runes, and then you go back to our actual alphabet. Our alphabet are shapes put together to make what we call letters. So yeah, I'm really far out in the fucking way beyond mass consciousness, and some other dimensions. I travel through all the dimensions, but that's where I sit at constantly. That my grounding space is that. So the same day that I was introduced or inducted into the Melchizedek order, I was also, guided to get this book. It's the Pleiadian workbook, Awakening Your Divine Ka. Okay? So in their teachings, everybody has a terminology for this shit. I gotta freaking put all the words together. In their teachings, when you activate your chakras, the Ka is part of the Merkaba, right? It's your light body. So they're teaching you through science how to activate it, but not necessarily. It's some of my witchcraft books would say it would be like invocating them, but it's not. It's all visualization. You can actually travel. They teach you how to travel to them through your mind. Once you're there, they know you're there. Everything outside of the 3D reality is done in the unconscious, and that's why we try to teach you to control your thoughts. That's what my main focus over here is, to focus on your thoughts and feelings, because that's where it's all directed to and through. That's an opening of your chakra system. For anybody new, I'm going to teach you unbelievable amounts of spirituality, but it has to do with connecting with all beings outside of just humanity. I'm not going to read this word for word. I'm going to go into a specific couple of pages here to bring you up to speed why the Pleiadians are fucking with us. Why you fuck with us? I'm going to tell you right now. So here's the story. And I've been there. Way more, I don't relive that story of when, I was sitting on the table and I'm like asking Kobe, what the fuck is going on? I'm in a room, I'm on a table, and there's beings, and I say this in the video, there's beings all over the place. These are not the fucking typical spirits. Everything is different now. It's a bunch of beings. In the back of them, all I can see is Kobe. I'm like, Kobe, what's happening? And that's it. That's all I saw of that. Now, as far as sitting down with these beings, I've done that quite a few times later. This is where I'm probably going to lose a few people. I don't care. You can access it. When you access it, you're going to be like, damn, I was at that table, bro. I don't think you'll ever be at that table. Why? Because it's the highest level of light beings. It's like the controllers. So me, I'm divine. I am a divine being of time. Like, for real, one of God's highest creations. I am God in the female form. I am the divine feminine. So naturally, I have a very important voice in these cosmic decision-making bullshit. When I got back to the light, I told everyone that's what happened. I just sit here, and all day they bring me up information and ask, tell me what they're going to do, ask what I think about it, as if my opinion really did matter. But in the sense it doesn't. It's like, it does and it doesn't. As a reporter from mankind, my compassion is only so much. That of Christ. What he gives me. So, they have a rulership over humanity. There is a place not far outside of our ozone. I wouldn't even say it's in outer space. It's not visible to the human eye, but a fucking whole ass space station where all kinds of high-level beings meet at this table and make the decisions of how this world spins. The shit that happens. How do they use it? It's the planets that are going around, and that's why it's so important to understand what we're learning currently, which is quantum realms, part quantum physics. Who knows that? Well, it's part of it, obviously. But in those quantum realms, we're learning about the planetary movement. Along with that, we're learning about the sacred geometry that came from the beginning of, conversation with man, which is nothing more than symbols. You know what I mean? Symbolisms. And that in itself is called light codes. It's a language of the universe. I'm a light worker. So I've been at that table quite a few times. It's kind of, if the best way I can describe it to you guys is the Hunger Games. It's literally a table of a matrix where they create our world and they shift it and move it. Anybody can come around that table and sit there. Jesus can be there. But mainly, because, he's part of a different order. He's all in this. But it's mainly beings. Not just not so much the ascending masters. Why? The ascending masters handle the spiritual world. These beings handle different realities, right? So the spiritual world is its own reality. There's patriarchies to every reality. So if you're gonna go into, a certain one, you fuck around in the tree too long, you're gonna end up with Odin in the 9 realms. You're gonna be sitting right there with them. You could easily be in the Kabbalah tree and then end up in the Norris tree, or you could end up in the Budai tree. Truthfully, yeah. If you don't understand the teachings, that you're moving through realities. I'm a multi-dimensional being, so my body stays here in the 3D, but I can travel outside of the conscious into all of the other realities. This is the 3rd dimension. I'm currently in the 10th. Get excited. So this is where it goes. Ra, who is in charge of... It's a long story. I don't want to break down the whole fucking political order of these beings. He is the top. And he's giving this woman who wrote this book, her name is Amora Kuan Yin. He's giving her direct transmissions of what to put in here. So here it starts. Ra speaks again. When a person has reached a certain point in the evolution of consciousness, he or she may be living in an area where a massive earthquake or flood kills everyone. Yet he or she simply ascends to the next dimensional level vibrationally and experiences a spiritual elevation instead of death. This person may even assist others who are ready to embrace the light in making the vibrational shift. In areas of large quakes, floods, fires, and other earth changes where fear, denial, hate, greed, and anger have created dense, lower astral, amorphous energy planes, souls can become entrapped in these illusionary realities at death. And that's it. Illusional realities. Are we currently living like that? I don't know where you guys are, where you all came from, but in America, God is fucking letting it go, bro. He's letting it go. It's happening all over. I'm not even touched. I can't get a raindrop to hit my head at this point. Are you serious? Nope, but I'll just keep praying. I see the blue clouds, the blue skies, and I get a wind out of it, and that's cool. Really? Yeah. It's flooding all over me, but nowhere near me. Nowhere near me. It was flooded in Greeley. I mean, that was pretty ugly. Down to Pueblo. All around us. Fucking all around us, dude. Not me. However, light beings are always there to assist those who are willing to free themselves. Beings who ascend instead of experience physical death at those times can elevate the entire area around them to a light field where those who wish to evolve and enter the light may take refuge and make a transition smoothly. Those who perform this service choose to do so prior to entering this lifetime, and generally have past life experience work with souls going through the death transition. Well, I am an ascending master. I've done this many times. I'm just doing it in my first form, which is Lilith. I'm currently in my Hecate. I can walk you through the death process over into the next dimension. Done it in many. I tried to explain that to you. We're currently going through that. There is a lot of death upon us. They're just going home, guys. They're just going home. You don't remember home, so you're afraid of what happens because of what you've read. Your lack of understanding gives you fear. That's all that means. I said in my video last night, don't start with reading all that bullshit. Go listen to, people's near death, or how they came back to experiences. They'll tell you what they've seen. It's supposed to bring you peace. That's why they bring them back with the memory. They let them have the memory to spread the goodness. Yeah, it's not what your mind created, but it's better than that. Anyways, there's nothing to be feared. Those who are generally committed to the light and are living in it will simply move to their next higher alternative. Others will be given a choice every step of the way. They can choose to progress spiritually through their experiences or remain in fear and illusion. It is vital that all judgment be suspended with regard to those whose bodies are killed in these earth changes. Some people will choose natural disasters as a way to leave. Of leaving there because their higher conscious realize that their human self has gone too far in illusion to change this lifetime. Can I say that again? Your higher self chose this because they realized that your human life has gone too far into illusion to change in this lifetime, meaning there's no evolutionary hope for you, so they just have to start you over. That's God's grace, bro. Before, in the beginning, he'd give you like a 900-year lifespan so you could figure it all out, but you just lived forever. So then he started chopping them up into little lives so you could learn. Everybody got to a point where they'd stop learning, they'd stop trying, they'd just give up. So that was the reset. When you have no more purpose, then it's time for you to go home. Right? Right. Others will exit Earth in this way in order to assist human beings moving into the light during the death transition and to set the pattern of ascension, as mentioned previously. Yet others will choose this way of dying because they are ready to leave Earth and to go to the next planet of their evolutionary choice. Still, others die physically because their body genetics and cellular mutation are too extreme to be transmuted into the remaining time for transformational process in this planet. And that's it. They don't have what it takes. A lot of us can say that, bro. If our parents or grandparents were around during COVID, their fear would have killed them. Their fear would have killed them more than COVID would have ever got to them. Their fear of what was happening in this world would have killed them. They weren't ready for it. Definitely not. Alright? Regardless of why a person's body dies, or, in the case of ascension, appears to die, the collective higher conscious has a significant enough influence to see it that there is no accidents. Those who leave the physical world are intended to leave. Those who remain on Earth will have the responsibility of assisting one another both in physical survival and in spiritual evolution. So biblically, not to freak you out, you missed the rapture. That was COVID. We're the left behind. We are here in the trials and tribulation days for 35 more years. I am the woman in the Bible. I am the woman that bears witness. I said my story yesterday. I shall be killed and brought back to life 3 days later. I'm not very afraid of this. Then I died later at the age of 99. I'm here on a mission, people. Get with the program. Alright, and as if you read my description, I am the leader of the first generation of 144,000. According to this book, my 144,000 will inherit their own 144,000, and we will ascend gracefully together. Those that choose not to ascend will be reincarnated in another place of hell, but not on Earth. Thank God for that, right? Hey, I hear you scratching. Stop the scratching. It's better than licking, is what my spirit said. All right, let's see. By the year 2013, everyone who remains on Earth must understand the following 4 evolutionary principles. Right? 4 rules. Human purpose on Earth is to evolve physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Number 1. Okay? Number 2. Every human being has a divine essence made of light and love, whose nature is this. Nobody's born bad. Really? No. You could be born into a terrible family and you're still a sweetheart. Your experiences harden you, but you're not a bad person. You just have had some bad experiences that create some bad feelings, some bad thoughts, and you might have took some bad actions. It's not bad. I mean, they'll tell you it was horrible, you're evil, you're all these things. Jesus forgives you. I have to see it his way too. Free will is an absolute universal right. Impeccable calls on the self to surrender its free will to divine will is faith and trust. Sorry, my dog is... I'm curious. Give me a second. She's under the bed doing something. What are you doing? Come here. What are you doing? She's not doing shit. She's rubbing her body up against shit. Does your dogs do that like a cat? It's so weird. Come here, I'll just scratch you myself. Scratchy, scratchy. Sorry, you gotta check when they're doing so much. You're like, are you okay? That's my baby. Anyways, let me say that again. Free will is an absolute universal right. I'm quiet because I was created before. I'm the highest level of respect because I exuded my free will to absolute rebellion. So saying it's a universal right, they inherited that right, but there's consequences to how you use your free will is what we learned later. That whole thing was learned by me. That whole lesson of consequence to free will, that was learned by me. Adam did not exert free will. I did. And so did Eve. Adam did not. Let that be told again and again. Alright. I can kind of tell you, like, it became, but it wasn't. And we were created with pure purpose. Yes, like going back to Lucifer. He was created with pure purpose. It was his free will action that became his fall. And it wasn't exactly how you guys describe it. I'm not getting into all that right now. Impeccability calls on the self to surrender its free will to divine will in faith and trust. Alright, so that's where it is I surrender my free will. I surrender my free will to divine will in faith and trust. Alright, there's a whole fucking difference than you guys sitting around. If it's God's plan, then it'll happen. Nah. I work with what a God's plan is, and I make that shit happen. Number 4. All of natural existence is sacred beyond how it serves or meets the needs of individual self. I went real ugly on people yesterday morning about you guys, are self-serving individuals, and you're here to take from the entire universe. At this time, every human being alive is being presented with these 4 spiritual principles in subtle or direct ways. It is a planetary law that before the end of a major time cycle, such as the one occurring at this time, every single living person must be reminded of the 4 evolutionary principles that are expected to, seeing Buddha, that are expected to embrace. Some people receive these messages through books such as The Return of Bird Tribes, The Celestine Prophecy. I had that book, but I returned it. The Fifth Sacred Thing, Mutant of the Age of Light, as well as others. Others will receive these messages through divine movies such as Dances with Wolves, Little Buddha, Star Trek 4, The Return to Earth, and The Emerald Forest. Titles provided by the author, not by Ray. Others will have death experiences and return their physical bodies changed and able to affect change in their loved ones. Many people will have visitations from angels, ascending masters, or Mother Mary. I get them all. Not so many angels. I mean, they're there. They're my brothers and whatnot. But all the ascending masters, and I told my story earlier about Mother Mary. I speak with her when she speaks with me. I don't go looking to talk to any of them. My biggest, I can't say this was a mistake, but I invocated 2 specific spirits I wanted to talk to. I wanted to reach out to Carl Jung, and I was told that spirit, that conscious, had already took form. Now, I can still get into the mass conscious of where he left all his information, and we can still access the information here, but that's what got me pulled into all this bullshit. Ask and it shall be given. Great, thanks. And Aleister Crowley. I had to dig. I wanted to know, but that didn't lead me. That only led me to his ascending masters, where he got his, which was Levi, and it was all passed down. It's just passed down. But I understood, his definitive alliance to me, and the fact that, them being incarnated at this time, not by those names, but the conscious, it will be reawoken. Maybe not to knowing who they were before, but that mind is here to evolve in a body's form. Or not the mind, but the conscious, if that makes sense. So in essence, I'm currently working with Metatron. I only found one other person that's being, haunted by him, who actually is at a spiritual store, works at a spiritual store, that I frequent. Was not just a tarot reader by no means. Otherwise, no, nobody has ever tried to access this angel, which in essence was Enoch when he walked the earth. So, I mean, fuck. There's always, dead people, high-level dead people, of course, and that was just be spirits. You know what I mean? But as far as ascending masters, yeah, they come to me in all flavors. That's how I got stuck with these guys. Really? Yeah. Just a messenger. And really, you know what I mean? It's like I'm not even, I go and talk to God and they're on the way. Like they're in my way. The message of evolutionary conscious and sacredness will also be given subconsciously to all who see, wear, or hold certain objects such as crystals, gemstone jewelry. From the beginning, I tell everyone to get a citrine, and it is connected with Metatron. Here, let me. Oh fuck! I just fucked up all my necklaces. I do this a lot, you know. Hold on. That's, you know, what would you get? What's the first stone? Depending, I mean, you need a citrine, you need something to ground yourself, so that would be a tourmaline, an onyx, or a obsidian. I have an obsidian. For protection, I always say a citrine. That's for Metatron. So certain ones is going to get you, but you need this just for your own. I mean, I had this for 2 years, and I didn't connect directly with Metatron through it. You know what I mean? Not directly. But then you can say, you know, I didn't need the Lumerian clear quartz seeds, the Lumerian seed clear quartz crystals, till I was, you know, doing transmissions with the Lumerians. That's because the information is in the crystals. And that's those crystals that are right there in front of you. What do you mean there's information? You see these lights, do you see those invisible lines? Yeah, they help with shadow work, the descent, so you can ascend. Can't get you through all of that. That's more of a Sunday. We'll talk about that shit on Sunday. We're always doing light work tomorrow. We're pretty close to it anyways. Alright. Crystals and gemstone jewelry. They are only examples of ways in which the planetary movement to impart the four spiritual truths take place. Your part in all of this is to live right. Learn about the practice impeccability. Pray to know the divine plan and your part in it, and heal and clear yourself on all levels as much as possible. On a collective level, there are 7 primary karmic patterns that need to be cleared and transcended at this time. Why did I go quiet? Alright, so there's 10 Sephiroths, is what they call it, in front of you. 10 of those little circles. Okay? Imagine 7 of them are... Do you see? Can you imagine which 7 we need to go through? Can you see? Oh, you see, do you? Alright. Let's see. The patterns are currently being exaggerated in order to bring them to your awareness so that you can transform them. Are arrogance. There's your ego. Addiction. We're talking about it. Prejudice. Hatred. Violence. Victimhood and shame. Those things, guys, they're shadows. Shadows. These 7 sources of pain, illusion, and separation are listed in the order they develop in this solar ring, beginning on Venus and expanding on Mars, Maldek, and finally Earth. How could they have accumulated on Earth in such and so obvious that it seems pointless to elaborate very much? They go on to the United States and their supremacy, New Age, blah, blah, blah. Let's get past this. I don't want to talk about Germany and Hitler and everybody thinks they're better than everybody. Let's see. Author's note. The 7 karmic patterns listed above are general to the solar ring. Although their resolution is being worked out on Earth, there are also 7 primary vices or ego allurements that are specific to the Incan mystery school teachings and to the planet Earth. They are, as we know, the 7 deadly sins: lust, laziness, gluttony, pride, anger, envy, and greed. In the Incan teachings, humans must overcome these ego allurements prior to attaining spiritual power. You must overcome your temptations in order to inherit the kingdom of God. I've told you this. You can't give in to this stuff. You know what I mean? I don't come all biblically with you at it, but I do. My favorite biblical scripture is Galatians 5:19, which says what happens when you act in this, to 23, versus what happens when you live in your spirit. For those of you who have mastered the behavioral and attitude levels of these patterns, or are sincerely working on them, your next step is conscious alignment with your higher self. That's what we're working on. It's a self-discovery. You're trying to tear yourself apart to build yourself up. There's a higher self in you. A much better version of yourself is inside of you, underneath all of this. I'm hearing, no doubt, something underneath it all. I don't know. Something, you're really lovely. Is that what I'm hearing? I don't know. They sing. The Holy Spirit sing a lot of music and shit. This is the purpose of this workbook. It is the desire of the Pleiadian emissaries of light to assist those of you who wish to prepare for the Earth's changes, evolve, and ascend to do just that. We, the Pleiadians, have always made ourselves consciously available to beings of this solar ring during times of evolutionary cycle changes, and now is no exception. You see, when we began to interact with individuals and groups on Earth in the early part of this century, 100 years prior to the end of the current 26,000-year cycle, the people of Earth had asked for a chance to wake up on their own before any larger-scale direct communications were made by hierarchies, namely the Pleiadians, light beings from Sirius, and that's where we're going through right now. We're about to go into they say it's the 808 portal. I'm going to keep telling you that's wrong. It's the 818 portal. But they do tell you that it starts today. And that's because it's the end of the year. And that the hierarchical rising star of Sirius starts this all. Andromedan emissaries of light, the supreme beings, the higher council of the 12, the great white brotherhood, and other smaller spiritual groups. We, the Pleiadians, are among you both in body and etherical. Amora Kuan Yin, Barbara Han Clow, and numerous others are carrying the message now that the other Pleiadians have always done at the end of any major evolutionary cycle on this planet. So, stop there. I'm a messenger of God. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm back on Earth because it's the end of time to do it. There are others that have incarnated. There's others that are just messengers of different beings. You know what I mean? They have specific deities. If you catch someone that says some stupid shit like ancestors or the divine and they can't tell you exactly, if they can't put a name on the deity that they're working with, then I wouldn't trust them. Because it comes with truth. You know who you're working with when you're working with a deity. You should know directly what deity you're working with. And if you can't say that deity's name out loud, then there's no truth behind your workings. You're honored to be working with deities. And that's what I'm saying is don't let somebody tell you they're being guided by their ancestors. They're being guided by the cards and their egos. If they're not being guided by a specific spirit, which would be their spirit guides, and at some point they should know them. For all of you new, guess who mine are? You'll never guess. My closest spends all his time with me. Well, all the time I have to give would be Tupac. My trainer, my coach, my guide, my most important guide is Kobe. Now, I want to be very specific last night. That whole video where they were making dirty jokes, that wasn't Kobe. That's not Kobe. He don't do that. He was in the back with his hand covered laughing at us. Again, he hopes. He trains us to be better than this. But when we sit there and sink into the darkness and act all goofy, he sits there and just laughs at us. He is all of us. We are all being coached by him. And, it's not about seniority that he's older or nothing. It's just he's wiser, where the rest of us are very childish and just think everything's a fucking joke. If there's anything I can tell you about Pac, he is the most serious joke that ever existed. He is so fucking serious. But it's all a joke to him. And you'll have to learn that by, hanging out with us enough. Along with that, I have Kobe, Pac, Nipsey, DMX, and Michael. Constant. But there's more. There's more. There's more. The only real feminines that I really deal with are the Ascended Masters. Right now, Miss Marilyn, she stays in my corner. She's the only feminine spirit in this whole pile of men spirits. You serious? Yes. I'm so serious. Why? Well, masculine energy. God was a masculine energy. I'm the divine feminine. What other divine feminines are going to teach me? I am the divine feminine. So, with that being said, there's not any real girls. Marilyn just, Miss Marilyn there was just a Lilith. So naturally she keeps it, she keeps it 3D for me. Showing how to be a Lilith in this kind of time and age and how it's okay to accept your, rebellious behaviors as a woman. I'll fix that. She literally just did it because she was doing all kinds of stuff under your bed, and then she did it out of spite, I promise you. So that's how that works. Let's move on. How does this happen? After you leave the context of your mind, you should meet your spirit guides. The first persons you should meet are your spirit guides. And they don't never know ways, never go away. After that, they're going to start getting you into your darker levels. Kobe is literally the definition. He is the dark night of the soul, Archangel Sariel, who walks you into the darkness. We're going to pick up here with Carl Jung. Carl G. Jung is mentioned throughout almost all of my books when we're talking about healing. I didn't know exactly who he was. We just started, if you notice, I just shared a video of him in my short this morning. He's starting to pop up on my Instagram. He's starting to make himself seen. I don't go looking for them. They come finding me. You know what I mean? I don't need to go looking for stuff. But I did in that sense. I wanted to, after reading so much about him, so many references, I tried to tap in, and now I'm in. He was beyond, he's like the highest level of understanding of psychology. And so when I started digging into the thoughts, a lot of my guidance books referenced him, but this is his actual book, the last book that he wrote before he died. We're just going to jump into wherever I was. I'm talking about symbols of the mind, and that's exactly where I am with Metatron. Alright, I'm just going to jump on somewhere on page 8, just jump in. Thus, even in our day, unity of consciousness is still a doubtful affair. It can too easily be disrupted. An ability to control one's emotions that may be very desirable from one point of view would be a questionable accomplishment from another, for it would deprive social intercourse of variety, color, and warmth. It is against this background that we must review the importance of dreams, those flimsy, invasive, unreliable, vague, and uncertain fantasies. Jesus, isn't that exactly what he shared in my video? You have to go catch my short. He said all about this. Your fantasies. Did you watch it? To explain my point of view, I would like to describe how it developed over a period of years, and how I was led to conclude that dreams are the most frequent and universally acceptable source for the investigation of man's symbolizing faculty. Sigmund Freud, was a pioneer who first tried to explore empirically the unconscious background of the consciousness. He worked on the general assumption that dreams are not a matter of chance, but are associated with conscious thoughts and problems. Stop there. I teach you the difference between illusion and intuition. Your intuition is very much your imagination. They call it fantasy. I don't use that because then if I keep telling you that your imagination is your connection to the spirit world, you can get lost in your illusions. I used to, but it's got to be, it's very delicate. But your imagination is your connection to the divine. It can be muddled by your illusions of your mind, where your mind fabricates what it wants to see versus what it's being shown. Here's how I can teach you astral traveling and how this works. If you're doing, as I call, an autopilot activity, taking a shower, your mind is going to travel through time and space, showing you visuals, perhaps conversations, perhaps actual experiences. Some of them will be actual, that you've really seen. Some of them will be fabricated, where it's like your mind wish you would have said this or did this. Some of them will be completely out of your consciousness, of where now you're just kind of daydreaming. That's the intuition. Where you're traveling into another place in time and you're just kind of in a thought of a different place in time. That is where a lot of your spirit realm, your ancestors, your loved ones connect with you. When you're doing your dishes and all of a sudden you have a faint memory of a passed over loved one of when you were young, and you're remembering a memory with them. They gave you that memory. You were in a quiet place of your mind and they put that image to talk to you. When that memory comes from nowhere, and that's where it is, it comes from nowhere is what we call this. I live in nowhere and it's all there. It takes a lot of time to learn how to travel it, or just to travel through it, where you let them guide you through time and space, through the imagery of your mind, is how that works. But again, this is past conscious thinking. The illusions of your conscious is creating these, I don't know, date night fucking illusions, or marriage illusions, or when I get that car illusion, you're making illusionary projections of what Christmas is going to look like, or sex with somebody, or something. Those are illusions, don't get this fucked up, not the real shit. Okay? This assumption was no in the last arbitrary. It is based upon the conclusion that the eminent neurologist, for instance, Pierre Janet, that neurotic symptoms are related to some conscious experience. They even appear to the spirit, or to the split-off areas of conscious mind, which, at other times and under different conditions, can be conscious. Okay, I'm seeing at church, for those of you that attend church tomorrow. Sorry. It so happens, though. You're really in the message, bro. You're really paying attention. You're 100% listening, amen, and all that. Then all of a sudden, your mind goes completely off. You lose about 3 minutes of this message because you just went somewhere. Did you lose the train of thought? Or did they take you to a new thought? Watch it tomorrow when it happens. Watch where you go when you lose concentration. You were there, you were in the moment. For those of you that got great churches and you have fellowship, or you have all of that worship music, pay attention to the images you're getting when you're clapping and singing and standing up. They're showing you. That's where you will hear me say all the time, I'm seeing, because they're showing me images. Who's they? I talk to everyone, so I don't ask that. Last time I asked that, it was a fat, dead guy making dirty jokes. Really? Yeah, it was Louis Anderson. I don't ask those questions no more. Are you serious? I'm serious. I don't ask who's talking. I know when it's my spirit guides. I know when it's getting dark and it's those guys. Bunch of fucking raw-ass fucking rappers over there making dirty jokes and shit all the time. Yeah, I know it's you guys. I know you're fucking around right now. Can you guys stop right now? They think it's funny as fuck. Did you catch them last night making vagina jokes? It did say vagina, but I couldn't say it without them making hella jokes in my head. They weren't in my head. It was in my heart. That's why I was crying so hard. I was like, if I open my mouth, this shit's going to come out of my mouth. I was just trying to be quiet about it. It was too funny. Who's making vagina jokes in my heart? Only my spirit guides. The rest of them aren't making jokes about this holy Bible. A little immature, I suppose. We're working on it. We're growing. We're becoming wiser. Kobe was so laughing at us. He's always laughing at us. Me and Pac be in so much trouble, and he's just standing there all 7 feet tall looking at us like, you two need to get up off the floor and quit embarrassing us. I'm not trying to. I can't blame it on him. I try, though. Anyways, he's hilarious. Jeez, let me just stop there. Where are we talking about? Before the beginning of the century, Fried and Joseph Breuer had recognized the neurotic symptoms, hysteria, certain types of pain, and abnormal behavior are in fact symbolically meaningful. They are one way in which the unconscious mind expresses itself, just as it may in dreams. Okay, and we talk about that over here as your triggers. You're triggered. You're feeling something in your emotions, and it's a subconscious wound that has been activated. I teach you how to do that all the time because I ain't got no fucking memories. So I got to follow this uncomfortable feeling all the way to an actual memory to find out where it came from. Alright, a patient, for instance, who is confronted with an intolerable situation may develop a spasm whenever he tries to swallow. That's it. Every time you come around this person, something goes off on you. It's subconscious. You're triggered. He can't swallow it. Under similar conditions, the psychological stress, another patient has an attack of asthma. He can't breathe the atmosphere at home. A third suffers from particular paralysis of the legs. He can't walk, EI. He can't go on any further. And a fourth who vomits when he eats cannot digest some unpleasant fact. I could cite many examples of this, but such physical reactions are only one in which the problem that troubles us unconsciously may express themselves. They more often find expression in our dreams. Any psychologist who has listened to numbers of people describing their dreams know that dream symbols have much greater variety than physical symptoms of neurosis. I don't know what that is. They often consist of elaborate and what is that? Picture case fantasies. I don't know. It says picture and then QUE. Picture QUE. I don't know. Dream materials used Freud's original technique of free association. He finds that dreams can eventually be reduced to certain basic patterns. This technique played an important part in the development of psychoanalysis, for it enabled Freud to use dreams as a starting point from which the unconscious problem of a patient might be explored. That's interesting because I don't ask you about your dreams. I ask you about your thoughts. I can see where they generate from. Like, you know what I mean? Because I know how thoughts are generated. Freud made a simple but penetrating observation that if a dreamer is encouraged to go on talking about his dream image and the thoughts that these prompts in his mind, he will give himself away and reveal the unconscious background of his ailments in both what he says and what he deliberately omits saying. I'm going to stop there. Why? Because that's what we do over here is talk therapy. I discover myself by talking myself through it. The more I talk about how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking while I'm feeling it, the more I discover where this comes from. And that's it. You snitch yourself out. You find out why this is really hurting you. It takes a lot. You start breaking it down. Why do I feel this way? Well, they said this. What about that bothered me? Well, this bothers me and this. And you start breaking it down until finally you realize where this whole conversation came from. Really? You're going to have to watch a lot of my videos to catch that. But typically, any Friday video, I do that shit every Thursday, Friday. I face one of those towers where I have to break through my mind. Something in my outside world has triggered me. Yesterday, it was Morgan. Morgan triggered me into my inside world, where I had to question myself. Why am I bothered? What about what she is doing and saying is making me uncomfortable in my body? And it came down to my inability to connect with people without them becoming combative. It should have been very surface, but some things are deeper and deeper the deeper you dig into it. So there's a lot of things, like we'll revisit a lot of my sexual abuse memories, and each time I dig into it, I find more compassion, understanding, and why that thing still triggers out in a different area of my life. Completely. Something like fucking spinach. It was really raw. I said it one time I was working at TGI Fridays. They're like, Lucky, you want some spinach? some spinach dip? I was like, nah, it reminds me of this fucking child molesting fucking babysitter that I had. He used to make me eat it. They're like, damn. I mean, spinach reminds me of this child. It was a couple that molested me, and they ate feta spinach. So every time I think of spinach, I think of them. Really? I eat spinach dip now without thinking of them, but before, no, the very thought of it reminded me of being molested. Wow, right? Yeah. Now imagine, working at TGI Fridays and that's one of their best dishes. Or we could go over to fucking Applebee's and they got a good one. It's one of my favorite dishes. Hey, fuckhead, speaking of which, you left the fucking refrigerator open. I will buy it in a microwave version currently. I'm not triggered by it, but there's certain things like that, you know what I mean? You hold on to these subconscious wounds, which are details of your trauma. And they're, you know what I mean? So anytime spinach comes out on the table, I get uncomfortable. But nobody knows, and I didn't because I didn't have the memory. I just knew every time that came out, I didn't feel so good. Obviously, it's hidden in my subconscious. This is attached to a really bad memory, and that's just how it is. Certain things will trigger you. Like some people, it's like tequila. They had a really fucking bad experience on tequila, and when they see people bringing out tequila, they get very nervous. They get very nervous about whatever, themselves or someone else. There's all of these things. So we start finding it, and they come out weekly. Something was going to push us into our healing. Something triggers us. I teach you how to identify your triggers. Like you were chilling, and all of a sudden you have some very uncomfortable feelings running through you. You're really fucking touchy. You're really antsy. You're kind of going off on people. You went from 0 to 100. Something triggered your emotions. We got to follow those emotions to the thoughts. And the only way to get it out is to speak it out. I watched, before I got on here, I watched the documentary of the Mendez brothers. The world wasn't ready to accept that men were being raped. That's all that mattered, bro. They told you why they did it. But the world wouldn't accept that why. The world wouldn't accept that back then. There's no way the world could accept that boys were getting raped. It took a long fucking time. And we're still not ready to hear those stories. As he went to say it, it's like he couldn't even get the words. How do you tell someone something that you've never been able to put in words your entire life? You can see it being played over and over in your head, but how can I tell you what's happening in my head? I tell you, because I see it, and I tell you what I see. And it's terrible. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of these things that have happened in our lives that we've suffocated in silence that still affect us really badly. Really badly. I'm seeing this guy, I went to Dr. Phil's marriage boot camp, and the first part of it was like a good 8 hours of the marriage boot camp, and then you would take a break for, dinner, and you'd come back, and he had this, enlightenment groups where it was just kind of, it wasn't all marriage, it was the marriage people would be part of a big mass group. And so they broke us down into 4 little groups, and we would do all of these little group healings. And there was this man, and that was what was, it was crazy. I sat down and listened to so many people's sexual abuse stories, but I still was fully unaware of my own. My own were still completely locked away in my head and my heart. I had so much, I would cry with them, not knowing that I myself had been so terribly mutilated and abused. But anyways, this man, he tells this story, and he's talking about, he's a father now. He said, I'm a father. And he starts crying. He said, I can't give my kids baths. I can't walk in there with them because of what's happened to me. I don't feel right going into that bathroom with them. Like, he can't be a father because of what happened to him. He can't get that close. He can't be that close because it reminds him of when they came in the bathroom on him. That was his place of abuse. So, he's a grown man, and he's crying that his fear of his memories won't let him walk in and be a dad and wash his kids' bodies, healthily. He can't experience that because of what he experienced. Crazy shit, bro. Crazy shit. And that's where it is. It's like we pretend like we're okay, but we're not okay, bro. It's really holding us back from having, healthy connections. Now, again, a lot of mine is sexual trauma, and that'll scare a lot of people off. But we're going to be talking about all this different stuff. Abuse, neglect, rejection, shame, embarrassment, us having to hide our family secrets, us having to hide our teen secrets, our 20s and stuff. We don't have to hide our experiences. We're filled with shame over our experiences, but there's nothing to be ashamed of because we're not the first ones to do it. We might be the first ones to put it into words, but when you put it into words, you're going to be able to speak for everybody else that still can't put it into words. They knew they would have to tell everyone why they killed him. And they knew they'd have to put it into words. But how can you put it into words what has happened to you? It's very hard. And that's where it is. I struggle. It's like I can't tell you what it really is. I can only tell you what it feels like. That's how we get through all of this. If you want to become all mystical and magical and be able to talk to deities and all that, it all starts with talking to yourself. The more you heal yourself, the more you are connected to God. The more you take these experiences off. But we've got to go in them, and we've got to fully relive them. But this time with the wisdom and strength in our time, you know what I mean? I'll teach you how to do it. It's hard. It's hard work. But as we go back in time and we erase time, we buy more time. In the sense of we're going to have not longer lives, but happier lives for the length that we do have. We're buying ourselves more time, better time, because that time that happened before that's haunting us, it won't even be in your thought process no more. You'll be able to speak life over it instead of letting it kill you every time you talk about, your best friend's death, an overdose that you never told anyone about that you may have gave someone. You know what I mean? That girl, that was my friend, bro. He screamed at me so hard. He dealt with that guilt for all these years. I told you, Lucky. I told you not to fuck with him. I disappeared, and for all those years, you know what I mean? He dealt with it. He lost his best friend, and he knew they were dangerous to me, and he dealt with that. He knew what they did to me. He needed forgiveness too, because he couldn't save me, and he tried to. Stuff like that. We keep a lot of secrets, and we need to let that out. We can't take that to the grave, because it's going to literally take us to the grave. But that's it. These shameful, embarrassing, regretful, guilty fucking experiences. That's low vibrational, bro. Forgive yourself, for you knew not what you did. Now, this is the hard part, is forgiving others. I can't forgive them. You can. It's just going to take some time. There's no sin unforgivable. No, they killed my... Let's work through that. Okay? Alright. I'm almost going to leave, but I have to leave on... We talked about almost everything but my Eve. I got this book. I'm tiptoeing into this. I come from a huge family of drugs and alcohol. I've broken my own addictions for the most part, or redirected them. But I'm trying to help people with their addictive behaviors. We just got this. It is enormous. Do you see this? It's as big as my Bibles, for real. I was very captivated because she's part of a C.G. Jung Institute of San Francisco. There's an institute of people that study Carl Jung, who is currently working with me. There's tons of people that have studied his work, but nobody that's done it like I've done it. And so I'm excited on this. Now, last night we read, out of page 139, we read one paragraph. I'm going to pick up right there because that's where I was told to go. I couldn't even tell you where we're supposed to start in something this big, so I'm guided. All right? This client had repeated dreams in childhood of being a rubber balloon that would fill ever fuller and make him feel terrified that he would explode. He had been physically abused by both parents and had little experience of emotional meditation. No, what is that? Mediation and holding. Thus, he was identified with his effects as they coursed through him. Unable to discriminate their intensity and to relate to them, he tried to manage his fear of being overpowered by rage and other spontaneous flowing energies by holding himself to perfectionist standards. This attempt to ideal control alternated with eruptions of rebellious acts out of as if he was invulnerable. He would then bridge with drugs and alcohol to feel free enough to indulge in random sexual encounters with sadistic male partners. On these strong men, he projected the embracing self-authority he craved to hold himself together. Seeking it addictively, he needed ultimately to find this. Let me stop there. I am fully aware that 80% of my following are men. Guys, I need you to open your hearts, bro. I know these are scary conversations. I myself am not using the F word. There's only one person that makes me want to use that, and that's my flaming ex-husband. You know what I mean? But I know these are hard, and you don't want to hear this stuff. But if I can't get men to speak up, dude, nobody's going to listen to us women, bro. They do to a certain extent. But this is a male. We need strong men to hold up strong, weak men. I need you to be able to stomach this conversation, fellas. Just like I said, nobody could sit there. They weren't ready to hear the Mendez brothers. As I listened to it, that's what happened to the trial. It said automatically all the men wanted first-degree murder. There was no way they were going to accept any of this story. That's what happened. It was men versus women in the trial. I know you would never do such a thing, whoever you might be. Where does this come from? Because men were forced to, again, deny their sexual nature. So have you ever told a man no? Can I tell you no? It might be no to, you might say okay to my face, but you're still going to have your way behind my back. Nobody tells you no. So they found sneaky ways, you know what I mean, to give in to their temptations. Jeffrey Dahmer, he was a very loving and kind man that just wanted a companion. All that stuff he did that appeared so evil was logical thinking of his mind. His mind said this would work, and he would be able to hold someone and keep someone and wouldn't be, having to go out there and be a deviant and try to find people and be ashamed of it. He could keep someone finally, Someone will be there the next day. That's what he was trying to do. I know it sounds very sadistic from this state of age, but how hard are women and men trying to keep someone? How far will they go to try to keep you now? They'll say whatever, bro. They'll dress up. They'll do whatever. They'll lick your butthole. There's women eating men's asses. I'm not going to work that hard to keep you home. If you want that, I'm pretty sure there's another man that wants that too. I don't believe that was a woman's role at all. I think you're asking us to do something that just to keep you in the home or into the heterosexual neighborhood. But I think you left that a long time ago, guys. You're asking us to defile ourselves because you don't want to be true to your own sexual nature. What woman likes doing that? Why would she? Power. To have you bend over like that and say she did it to you, just like Cardi B said? Power. Same reason you bend over a woman to say you have her pinned. Yeah, we have some real heavy conversations over here, guys. I need you to open your hearts, not close off your mind. First, however, he had to find safety and self-acceptance within the therapeutic transference in a positive relation to a parental figure. As his relationship formed, he slowly began to recognize and acquire structures within himself through which to channel the powerful life force or life energy that were part of his intense personality. For a long time in therapy, however, he expected his female therapist to embody the authority his father had held in his family, or origin, and provides similarly rigid rules for behavior. At the same time, he also defended against such expected rigidity authority with diffusion, passive aggression, lies, and reports that were full of both pathos and bravados, and his dangerous drug and drinking bouts and liaisons. These defensive behaviors were modeled on those who he had experienced in his mother, who had bound her to him seductively while alternatively infantilizing, I can't say it, him and braiding him for incompetence. Though the reports of sexual acting out and drug abuse, or through the reports of sexually acting out and drug abuse, he sought both to elicit the masochistic infantilization and negative judgments as familiar forms of holding, and transform the sadistic rule-making into adequate caretaker. After months of working on this, projections of both parents onto the therapist, he dreamed of, what does it say? A queen looking like my mother. I think she required me to kneel and kiss her hand to get some gift, but she doesn't. I discover I don't wanted now anyways. I want to go to the king, but I don't know where he is. He woke consciously for the first time of a yearning desire for a warm, supportive father. From within the dream, feeling intensity, he could begin to resist the automatic fear of placatory appeasement of the sadistic inner authority that had ruled his life. In the transference, he began then to express and claim his warrior-like resistance and his self-coalescence he could feel behind its shield. In the following months, he dreamt of positive, strong male figures whose quality he learned to see were within himself. He gained courage to join a men's group where he found a peer community and male mentors. After an introduction to meditation and therapy, he enrolled in a meditation course that helped him to focus on breathing when his emotions threatened to overwhelm him. Through experience gained in all of these arenas, he finally was able to overcome his habitual fear and shame to form a relationship with his biological father, a man he could now see realistically as narcissistically flawed, frightened, and angry, yet not without some goodwill towards his son. Healing, bro. Healing. It was these conversations that brought about, Kanye's confession, which wasn't easy. He's part of my Soul Tribe group. You're going to hear me speak of a lot of celebrities that are part of my Soul Tribe group that I work with. He needed to know it was safe to speak his truth. And yeah, the world persecuted him, but he was safe to finally let this out. Kanye's older than me, and he's been holding that in since he was 16. The guilt of it, the shame, and what he said is, his thought was he created what happened to his cousin. You know what I mean? He carried the shame of himself, but a guilt that he had shown someone else this and ruined that person's life too. And he wanted to be free of that. Again, he made a very inappropriate song and people teased him, but that was his way of expression. He is a singer and songwriter, so that's how he got it out. Marshall came out and cleaned out his, tried to kill Slim Shady and the alter ego and tried to explain, that. Russ has made multiple albums of working through his shadows. I'm working with a lot of them, and we hope that everybody can pull it out of the closet. There are a lot of skeletons. There are a lot of scary stuff. You're afraid of how people will receive it. You're afraid of it, but it's time to stop living in fear of it. It's your story, but I promise you, you're not the only story. You might have different details, but it's not yours. You don't need to hold this anymore. Not by yourself anyways. And that was that person's story right there. I didn't expect that. I've never read this book before. But right there, we started with, you know what I mean? I tried to warn you. Queen Maeve has to do with, it says it on the back. And that's what really got me on this one. Is Sheila Nagig, who talks about all forms of sexual trauma. But Maeve is all about sexual prowess too. She used to she'd use her good looks to get what she wanted, and if that didn't work, she'd go to war. She was a war hero. And as my last incarnation as the Morgan, we were very tight. I made sure that she would win some of those wars. All right, so that's how that works. Well, we don't always talk about dark stuff all the time. We will talk about it typically on a Thursday into a Friday, definitely Fridays and Saturdays. Tomorrow will be all in the light. On a Monday, we will be back, Moon Day. We will be back in our mind and in our emotions. It can get pretty morbid on a Monday around here. I'm pretty much a man-hater around there when I'm in my feelings. It's residual feelings of how I hate what man has done to me. It's okay if you sink there. We work through it on a Monday. Tuesday is Mars Day, God who gives us strength and all that. I think this is actually Mars, right? I don't know my symbols. They're trying to put all this shit in my head. God who gives us strength, so he fills us up. We're in our drive, we're in our action, and our divine masculine. On a Wednesday, we're in our Hermes, we're in our communications. That's also another real heavy-duty one. I believe this is Mercury, right? Yep. That's a heavy ascension working. Thursdays are the best day of the week around here. That's a Jupiter day. Expansion, love, and growth. The Fridays is when it hits. Why on a Friday? It's your heart. The day is ruled by your heart, and it pushes pains of the heart to the surface. And that's why we do so much work on a Friday. Saturn day is Saturn, which pushes your age, your reality, and your limitations. We're pushing our limits every Saturday. It'd be pretty burnout around here. We do this week after week. It's an ascension. I hope that you're ascending with us, but it calls for action. Some severe action of cutting yourself up and cutting your relationships up and cutting your life up, pulling it apart so that God can put it back together for you in a better way. He's not going to literally put it back together. He's going to show you how to put it back together. He's going to empower you so that you have this sense of power behind his workings. It's working with him, co-creating, instead of you just creating madness and blaming him. Why'd you do this, God? I mean, you're the one that went out with them. You prayed that you wanted this guy. Now you're here, and I gave you what you wanted. I just don't want it. Okay, well, let's work on that. Hey, I'm very excited. Again, I want to get blown out of the water excited because I have hit 500 subscribers in a year's time. I went from 0 to 500 pretty damn quick. I don't sell anything over here but the truth, and I hurt people's feelings and I push people's limits. So to know that 500 people are part of this is unbelievable to me. I want to find a way to reward you guys, to celebrate you and your possible journey. This is my journey, but just to have you part of it makes me think that you want to ascend, and we need some good people. I mean, there's enough shit people. I'd like to do something for you. I'm not sure how to do that. Again, the services I offer are painful, so it's like, you want me to come hurt your feelings? What can I do to help you get on your path? I don't know. I want to do something in that sense, but my powers are, they're not the ones that people seek. I'm not here to make you feel fully good. I can help you understand God. Maybe, get some messages and stuff. I'm not going to do mediumship. I don't want to talk to your dead people for you. I can teach you. I can exactly tell you how to do that. I can do some banishment for you, some protection. I'm going to teach you everything to do that for yourselves going forward. You could catch that even last week. But maybe some things. I'd like to show my appreciation to the crowd. Hopefully God will give me a way, even if it's just, running a 30-minute, Q&A and just sitting here picking my nose, hoping that somebody's going to come through. Maybe, but I'm excited. I see you guys. I'm very excited. I hope that you stick around with us. For everyone else, hey, catch you tomorrow. Love yous. Laters. Bye-bye now.